He's helped in developing some of India's first products, making him one of the most influential leaders in the field. Mr. Madhu Babu.
In the product engineering, there is something called reliability of the product. So that what we used to do is the strategize based on the product where we serve.
How do you assess and manage risk on a large scale project? Like, is there a particular framework or strategy you use?
People think that engineering is like more of a technology and all these things, but I feel that many times I have personally experienced the governance in engineering is very, very crucial and important.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Tanay All, and today we're in for a real treat. We're diving deep into the world of engineering leadership, innovation, and strategy with someone who has spent the last 30 years shaping the future of the industry. Now, when most people think about engineering, they probably think of circuits, machines, and a lot of complex systems. But what they don't see is the leadership and strategic vision that goes into bringing all these moving parts together. And that's exactly what Mr. Madhu Babu Kanumuru has been doing for decades. From building high performance teams to transforming processes and driving millions in cost savings, Sir has been at the forefront of engineering innovation and excellence. He's helped in developing some of India's first products, making him one of the most influential leaders in the field. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today, and how are you doing?
Good. Thanks, Tanay. Thanks for having me here, and I'm doing great.
Lovely, sir.
So happy to talk to you today on this forum.
Likewise. So we would love to start with something simple. Like, could you please share your career journey with us? Like, if you could walk us through how it all started and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah. So basically, I born and brought up in a small village in Andhra Pradesh. From where I after my graduation I moved to Hyderabad to search for a job. During those days, probably I am one of those very few people who went for a graduation, and most of those times, industrial kind of setups are growing up in Hyderabad. And in the villages, people are more interested in ITI or a diploma and then just go and then get a job. But those days, because of financial situation and other things, so I couldn't able to do basically engineering degree. You might be wondering without engineering degree where I am today as an engineering leader. But I did a BSc in electronics, maths, and physics. After that, I moved to Hyderabad, but I faced a lot of challenges in getting my first job. So those days, pharmacy industry is in boom in Hyderabad, and then everyone is looking for a pharmacy background or a chemistry background, where it's a very tough subjects for me. So in those days, so I went to few companies through referrals and then through my relatives network and all. Everyone asking me, why did you study this? What is electronics? What are you doing here? So if you had done chemistry, I would have given you the job day one. So I was really felt bad, and probably my motivation levels are going day by day. Where I used to stay in my cousin's house, and then one of my cousin, he is working in an electronics company, so he referred me, and then they also got a doubt. So what this guy can really do? Even I don't even know the fluent English those days. So I attended an interview, but they thought couple of months, and then finally what happened is the company started the building India's first SMPS based power plants. So they want to hire people without any baggage. Basically, they don't want to hire even from IIT kind of a baggage. They don't want. So basically, they want someone who came with the struggle and they really who are good in fundamentals. So they hired like a 10 people like me, and then they gave us this project which needs to be developed in a very short term. And even we don't know anything about ABCD first of all, and nothing ABCD of an industry how it works. It's our first job, first project, and it's the first project for the company also. So that's where my journey started. I'm very fortunate to be in that kind of R&D environment, and then every day is a discovery. So I really don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, right? So from those days, I spent there 4 years, which was a company name called HBL Power Systems. Now later it's got merged into Hyderabad Batteries Limited. So I learned a lot with a lot of mentors there who spent like 20, 30 years in the power electronics industry. And then from there, I got an opportunity in Satyam GE Software Services. That time it was like a joint venture between GE and Satyam. So because GE wanted to start their GCC, now we are calling it as GCC, but they want to start an engineering center. But because of those days government regulations, they need a partner. So Satyam was one of their core service providers. So they started a joint venture, and that's where I got a job there. And there also, those days, they used to hire only engineers. So nothing less than BTech from premium institutes and all. Because of the Satyam brand name as well as GE's brand name. But the skill set I carried made me unique, where they don't have any other choice than picking me. So after my interview completion, I was waiting for 2 to 3 months. So finally, I got in there. That's where I got exposed to the global world. GE in itself is a big world. So I came across a lot of processes and the way things happens, the strategies. It's not like it's like executing a project and then delivering the project, but it's more about thinking beyond what's coming up. How do you de-risk the things? How do you think from the customer point of view? How do you take care of cost, reliability, and so many new terminologies which I heard first time in my life, as well as learning through execution. So that's how I spent almost like maybe 17 years in that second journey. But technically, it's one appointment. But through the acquisitions, mergers, and all, I sailed through multiple companies. So my last stint in GE was in a business called GE Security, where they used to make security devices. So that business was acquired by United Technologies, another big conglomerate. That's how I moved into UTC. There I spent another 7, 8 years. And then now in 2017, I joined Allegion, which is my basically technically a third company. But practically I have sailed through almost like 7, 8 companies within these corporations.
Yeah, sounds like an incredible journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, with your extensive experience in both engineering and leadership, you've had a chance to work on some fascinating projects. For example, you've helped in building, expanding core engineering teams and led initiatives that saved the company millions. Could you please walk us through a recent project that you're particularly proud of? Like, what challenges did you face and how did you manage to deliver on such a large scale?
Yeah. So probably, first half of my career was like an individual contributor. I was executing the projects, but I learned many things are the problems I faced, right? So it is there in my mind that, okay, company would have done like this, and then, project would have executed like this, but I may not have too much of control on what I'm doing because whatever task or project assigned to me, it's my primary role to execute that first. But when I took a leadership role, like managing a small team, way back in 2015 or 16, that's where I got an opportunity to explore those things and then suggest those strategies to the business. And then many times there was a lot of resistance, but I was able to sail through. If I want to talk about one of the project which always fascinates me is like building a test infrastructure or a lab infrastructure for electronic product development. Always becoming a bottleneck during the development phase. Suppose if you need to go to external labs, one is it's too expensive. Suppose for example a wireless or an RF testing, if you need to go out, you develop the board and everything, but you don't know whether how it performs until unless you test it. The test equipment is too expensive, and then if you go to external labs, they may charge anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a day, even in labs in Bangalore. right? So that because of that, we were able to get a very small slot in the lab, and then I need to fix and everything, and then within that slot. And if I expand, then I need to get the approval from the budget approval from the top to bottom. So that's where I try to build that capability in house. So recently, just before COVID, I built, proposed this business case and then got it approved thanks to the leadership there. And also they saw the value towards that. And then we built a big RF lab within our own facility. uh, Again, not spending too much of money, but I try to identify the vendors locally. Where things cannot happen locally, then we imported some equipment, and it's a mix of all. So that probably a fraction of full-fledged certified lab cost. I could able to set up that. Surprisingly, post-COVID, because of the chip shortage and all, we were able to, day and night, 24/7, we were redesigning the things to handle the chip shortage. This lab came, so handy, wherein if you imagine like, $1,000, $1,500 a day, probably almost like a 1.5 year, almost every day we used it. Okay, so that's that's the benefit it gave back to the company, but probably, it's a fraction of the amount what we spent. So all the challenges what I faced as an individual contributor motivated me to think about my team, like what challenges they may face, and then how can I solve that. So that's how I could able to set up that.
And that's a very good idea to implement and would have changed the way things work. So you mentioned overseeing a high performance engineering team and establishing an R&D lab in India. That's no small feat. When you're setting up and scaling something like this, what key considerations do you keep in mind when it comes to team structure, technology infrastructure, and processes? Like how do you balance the technical side with the leadership side in such a critical role?
Good. Yeah. Thanks, Tanay, for that question. It's a tricky question because uh, when you start building the teams from the scratch, there is some perception in global corporates till last 10 years back that yeah, when it comes to India, especially Bangalore, Hyderabad, okay, these are meant for software engineers, and we may not able to get the core engineers. Even if you get a core engineers, they are only from IITs and IIScs, which are expensive, and then we cannot hire them or we cannot retain them. How long they will work with us and all. So those are the challenges the leadership has. Globally, the global leadership has. So that I try to break. When I hire people, when I build the people, I look for some traits wherein people have a zeal for learning, and then where people want to continuously upgrade themselves, and then who people like to work on the challenges. Okay, so those kind of people we keep hiring, and also of course the culture of the company and then cultural fit is the biggest aspect. So you can get a topmost technically strong person, but if he cannot if he or she cannot fit into the organizational culture, that won't serve the purpose. So one is organizational culture, and then individual values, basically what they are looking for, and then of course their technical skills. So these are the some of the things. So it's not completely my own this one, but as an organization we created those kind of set of expectations from the people, and then that's how we build the team. But once you build the team, it won't start performing because these are all core engineering. It's not like if you have a server and a software and a laptop, you cannot develop like a software, right? So this is many more things. And then secondly, one is having your own infrastructure, and also having an ecosystem partners, like be it a vendor, suppliers. When it comes to vendors and suppliers, we don't manufacture here, and then we need to identify someone who is equally capable as our final manufacturing plant, but they are ready to do a prototyping jobs for us and smaller quantities within the budget. So you will get a good vendor who will charge maybe 10x, but he will still do a sample prototype. but we don't want that. So many times, not only these two are internal, like, lab infrastructure and hiring the right set of people and then putting the right policies and strategies in place. But many times my time goes into the external things, which, external ecosystem where it gets connected, so that facilitate my team so that they can execute their projects without any hurdles or anything, and leveraging those ecosystem in India. So that those, like, if you ask me top two or three, basically people side and then internal infrastructure and then external ecosystem connection.
Yeah, and one size does not fit all, so that's why
Yes,
looking into
yes,
who's made for you, suitable for you, is becomes that very
correct.
important.
Yeah.
So, with your deep background in risk and reliability engineering and having been involved in systems like SMPS based power plants for telecom and railways, how do you assess and manage risk on a large scale project? Like, is there a particular framework or strategy you use to ensure everything runs smoothly, especially when dealing with complex systems that could impact critical infrastructure?
Yes. So, yeah, just a small clarification before I answer this
Yeah.
question, Tanay. The reliability engineering aspect, what I am talking about, where I am, certified, is a product reliability engineering. It's not a business reliability or a business risk assessment, and also not in the context of current data centers and site reliability. Site reliability is a different subject. So this subject is more on the product reliability. So, for example, you are buying a refrigerator, and they say that 10-year warranty. So they do something called reliability engineering to arrive at that number. So they know how long that product will work, and then how long the company can support, and what could be the warranty costs and all those things. So, for example, if you buy a new car, your battery comes with the car may not last more than a year, right? Because the car OEM buys a battery and asks the battery manufacturer to give me a battery which will work for only 1 year. That is good enough for me. Okay. So that is the reliability engineering. So when that 1 year battery goes off, then when you go to a battery store, there he will give you a 5 years warranty battery. Or you can choose a 1 year battery warranty also off of the cost, right? So then you have to calculate. So in every product engineering, there is something called reliability of the product. So that what we used to do is the strategize based on the product where we serve, what market it serves. So, for example, if it is a consumer market, you need not to be worried about, like, 10 years life or 20 years life. But if you are selling to a commercial or industrial application, they buy this product only once. If it fails every year, 2 years, they may not even come back and replace with your own product. Probably they will go to our competitor. Right? So depends on the business where it goes. So we need to have our own strategy. Based on the strategy, the cost of the product changes and the development cycle of the product changes, and then many other things will change. But when you refer the SMPS based power plant, right? That was my one of the first project in my early days of my career. Those days, I really don't know about anything about this Six Sigma quality, reliability, and all these things. But I have seen what customer faces the problem. What we think something in the lab, and we thought that it works. When we deploy in a railway station, a local railway station, we used to go and then sit there and then see, all the failures what I would have never imagined. Okay, so that taught me a lesson. And then when I come to bigger corporations like GE, UTs, and all, we used to think about all the customer use cases, and then environmental things, in what environment it operates. So, for example, if you in olden days, the telephone exchange, if you can imagine, or a railway station, you can see how those rooms like that. Think about a remote railway station somewhere in a forest, right? So all those things needs to be considered to make the reliability more reliable product. And then if it doesn't work, then what's the risk to the company? Like, how much cost they will incur, and then how much service cost they will incur, and how much reliability. And on top of all these things, what's the brand damage company can have, right? So that comes to the business risk side. If you don't deliver a reliable product, your brand will get impacted, so that in the future it will have a much more larger impact, may not be immediate. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Okay, so now time for a very own rapid fire round. A few quick questions and all we request some quick answers. So are we ready?
Yes.
Perfect. What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Yeah, probably when I wake up, I look at my Garmin and see what's the workout today. So that's
Lovely.
my first thing.
The best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, the best piece of advice I received from my father, though he's a farmer, but always he used to tell me always debt free. Okay, so if you don't have debt, you can survive with any with a small
Uh,
money as
what's one thing you can't start your day without?
well. Yeah, probably maybe a coffee and a workout. So if I don't do those two, I feel
Yeah.
something missing. Yeah.
Nice. What's your go-to comfort food?
Probably my native food, Andhra food, and especially non-veg. Like
If you weren't in engineering, what would you be doing?
probably I would have become an artist.
Nice. Favorite book or podcast right now?
I don't read many of the books, but I recently started following Think School channel, sort of business related podcast. And
Okay.
also a couple of books I read, like Rich Dad and Poor Dad and Psychology of Money. So those books I always recall.
Yeah. What's a hobby that instantly helps you relax?
Probably painting.
Yeah. If you could time travel, where would you go first?
Probably I would go to ancient Indian civilization, wherein any civilization for that matter. I'm curious to know how that innovation triggered the humankind, to grow, and basically the necessity is the further of the innovation, right? So
Yeah.
everyday survival everyday innovate to survive.
What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Not a TV show, but my guilty pleasure is basically probably sleeping for the whole day. I would
Yeah.
say.
The last thing that
Generally,
made you laugh. Yeah.
I don't watch any TV shows, so
Okay. The last thing that made you laugh out loud.
not that much. Generally, I don't watch too much of things, but sometimes I watch old comedy movies and all. But
Yeah. What's the best vacation spot you've been to?
uh, probably recently I visited Australia for my work purpose, but would able to spend a couple of days there on weekend. It's
Yeah.
amazing nature, and I really like.
One skill you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet.
Yeah, probably during my after my 10th, right? So I took some software engineering course. So I always wanted to learn some one computer language and one natural language. Those I couldn't do.
A hobby or activity you'd recommend everyone to try at least once.
Basically, everyone should have at least one fine art hobby, be it a music, dance, painting, anything that helps you to
Yeah.
relax from your other pressures.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. That was a very own rapid fire round. Now back to the slightly more serious questions. Sir, over the course of your career, you've not only driven innovation and engineering excellence, but you've also been involved in leadership, governance, and risk management. These are all areas that shape how organizations succeed or fail, and I'm sure you had your fair share of insights along the way. So, given your experience in managing teams and large scale projects, how important is good governance in engineering leadership, and what role does ethical making play in your approach to both day to day management and long term strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tanay. So I think the people thinks that engineering is like more of a technology and all these things, but I feel that many times I have personally experienced the governance in engineering is very crucial and important. So, for example, I'm committing something to the customer that my product performs in this manner. It has to perform, right? So there is no shortcut. People don't, when you test the product in house, don't try to pass it in your lab. Basically then it will fail at the customer side, right? So always try to fail it in your lab so that it won't fail at the customer side, and then be honest and then be transparent what you are committing, and then what you can provide, and it's okay to tell that this cannot be done. Okay, so that's very important. And then throughout my career, being an individual contributor or a leader, I always give this top priority to even tell my team that it's okay to skip a schedule, or it's okay to miss a deadline, but not at the cost of compliance or governance. And also
Long-term
when it comes
success.
to when it comes to ESG, right? So when it comes to engineering, the safety part of ESG is very important. Basically, the even employee safety, and also product safety, and also customer safety. So no compromise on those things.
Yeah, long-term vision.
Yes.
Sir, recently you've been associated with Directors Institute. We would love to know what initially drew you to the institute and how has being a part of it influenced your approach to leadership, governance, and decision making at the boardroom level.
Yes. So as we spoke, right? So my whole career was within engineering, but I got fortunately got an opportunity to work with my peers and then friends and stakeholders within the different domains of the business, be it a finance, sourcing, or H&S. So I have many friends there, and then during my free time, I used to go there and then learn how a sourcing functions, how a EHS functions, how a facility management functions. So I always want to broaden my skills. So I like the breadth rather than depth. And then having spent 30 years in engineering, I was thinking about what next for me, and then how can I leverage this experience and be a broader role wherein I can influence things from my experience. That's where I was thinking of getting into more than beyond engineering. So that's where I thought this course especially exposes me to other fields of engineering, other fields beyond engineering, so that I can become a complete leader, and then wherein I can contribute back to the organizations where I am working.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much for those kind words. This has been an insightful and engaging conversation. I think we've all learned so much about leadership, innovation, and role ethics play in engineering and beyond. I mean, your experiences are a true testament to the power of building strong teams, managing risk, and always striving for excellence. So, thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Most welcome, sir. To our listeners, I hope today's episode gave you not only a better understanding of the complexities in engineering leadership, but also a fresh perspective on how governance and ethics influence success. It's a reminder that decisions we make today will impact the future. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning into FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Tanayol, and I encourage you to take what you've heard today, apply it to your own journey, and as always, lead with integrity, live with purpose, and of course, have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.